Social media has been around for a really long time, and it hasn't really developed much. I mean, back in the day, what could we do on social media? Post. And now, what is new? We can reply to comments. Things haven't progressed at all. They're old, archaic. They aren't new technology. They aren't really that beneficial either. They're just the best thing that we have. I've waited around hoping that they would get better, hoping that they would rise to the occasion of what they are supposed to be. They're supposed to be this golden city on a hill that we're all able to go to and interact with great ideas and new types of things. But they've devolved into just a meme sharing site and a place where you can fight with people that you don't agree with. So they're the new local bar, essentially, where you're telling jokes and getting into arguments. I have hope that online can be better, that the future of the internet is a more positive place where we can share ideas and interact. But I don't have hope for social media anymore. I've lost faith in them. The solution, of course, would be for social media to develop new ideas, new functionalities, new features, smart feeds, gamification, new ways to bring in revenue so that they're not using their users as their main product line. That would create an environment where there would be more trust. That would create a better platform. That would create better communities. It would help to kill the divisiveness that's out there because we would have some ownership in how the platforms work. Now, I don't think this is possible. I think the platforms are too far down the rabbit hole of looking for that next dollar and appeasing their investors. So the real solution is a new type of platform, not social media, because we all know what that means. My proposal is, of course, niched. It's a human interaction platform. If you want to learn more about that, check this video out. Niche solves all these problems. It puts you in control. It gives you the ability to customize and choose and see what you want to see. And it allows you to be a part of the process, to have a say. You get to have a say. You get to be a part of the community that decides what niche looks like, because you have the opportunity to not just be a user, but you can elevate yourself to the level of customer. So niched is something different entirely. But that's my solution. I hope to see more types of platforms pop up like this so that there's more options out there that we can trust. Most of us don't think about it because it's just kind of always been here, but social media has been around for over 2 decades now, and they haven't really developed anything new. We can post and share images and bigger files, but that's just a space consideration on a server somewhere. When you compare that to other industries, we've got electric cars, and we've got smartphones, and we've got smart watches, and all sorts of things with computer chips in it that's connected to the internet. There hasn't been the same comparable amount of innovation there. And I think a lot of that is from the fact that, social media companies started out with a dream to get things out there to people. They then got caught up in what their stockholders want and what their investors want. And it all became about ones and zeros and dollar signs instead of creating the best possible product they could and allowing that to follow with the success of their business. Social media platforms collect our personal data. They collect our browsing history and how we use their apps. But they also collect information on other websites that have connected themselves to the social platforms. And the reason they've done this is the platforms give them analytic data. They give them information about how people traveled from the social media platforms to their websites. And they also give them information on how they were successful with their ads that they have on those platforms. But we don't really know how they use this data. They don't really tell us what they do with it. We know it gets sold because we see an ad somewhere, or we look for something on a search engine, and then we see those same ads other places and all over, and we get inundated with them. That's a major problem. We don't have the ability to know where our information's going. This normalization spilled over into the real world. We've lost the level of decorum, a level of respect that we used to have for one another before we got so inundated with this online world that we all tend to live in. Most of us stopped getting out into the real world and looking around to see what was there to find and explore and interact with. And we just started to get rude towards one another. We allowed it to be acceptable to speak in a way to one another that we wouldn't want people to speak to us in that way. And we lost the perspective that ideological differences aren't necessarily the most important thing. The most important thing is the time we get to spend with those that we care about. We cared more that our kids liked playing with each other than if our kids were voting for a Democrat or a Republican, even though they're only in kindergarten. There's been a shift in recent years on social media. This has been most seen in ideological differences. We seem to focus on that first, instead of focusing on what really matters, our interests, our commonalities between one another. I mean, when I meet someone in the real world, I ask them one of two questions. I ask them what they do for a living, and I ask them what they do for fun. And those are great icebreakers to just start a conversation to see if there's anything there that could potentially be more. And on social media, we've just become divisive over time. We've fractured into communities and separated ourselves where in the past we would have come together on things like a kid's soccer game, or we would have come together at local establishments to have conversations with our neighbors and to hear different ideas and agree and disagree and come back the next week and do it all over again. But social media is part of the problem that has pushed everybody into their own corners, and we don't really talk to anyone anymore that doesn't believe what we do unless we're really intentional about seeking out those types of relationships. Social media companies need to make money. That's totally understandable. But since they initially offered this for free to people, the way they made money in the beginning was through investors paying them. And that meant that the stockholders had the power in that relationship. You know, the idea maker, the platform inventor had an idea, created the platform, and then the stockholders and investors came in and helped guide the path so that they can recoup the investment that they made, which means we really aren't getting it for free. There's got to be a way for us to pay for the privilege to use these platforms. And we pay with our time, we pay with our eyeballs, and ultimately we pay with the information about those things that we're doing on there that gets stored and then shared to advertisers, or ultimately they're also getting sold to certain advertisers so that they can use that data to better advertise to us. So there's a cost involved in anything that's free. Algorithms are part of the issue. They were designed to have us interact more and more quickly with the platforms. So they were designed to learn how to get us to stay in the platforms for longer. And what they found is negative emotions, sadness, anger, those types of things are what keep us in the platforms for longer. They keep us scrolling, they keep us watching more videos, and the next thing, and the next thing. And the thing of that is it has kind of trained us to expect that that's okay. And it's kind of started to spill over into the real world as well. Instead of having a conversation, we just vilified the other side, and we didn't really try to come to have common ground. And I think a huge part of why we thought that was acceptable was because of how social media has kind of trained and rewired our brains to be able to interact online in whatever way we want to without fear of consequences. And that spills over into the real world. Social media sucks for a number of reasons, but the biggest thing is, if we were in this situation, if any other business were treating us the way that social media treats us, we would be questioning them. We'd be holding them accountable. Social media gets the freedom to not do that because we don't give them anything other than our time. We've bought into this idea that we should post everything that we have going on in our lives. Social media sucks. I don't know how else you can cut it. There's nothing really redeeming about it except for things that we can already do online. The cons vastly outweigh the pros. And that's why I created Niched, the world's first human interaction platform. And it is totally within your control. To learn more and to say goodbye to social media, go to beta.niche.com. And if you like this video, comment down below. Start a conversation. Maybe you think I'm wrong. I think that's great. I'd love to talk with you. Stay tuned as well for this next video. It's coming up right now.